Good afternoon or evening, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to Across the Pitch. Today we have an extra special guest on our show, as myself, Phil Kennedy, and Tony Robinson are joined by one of the first guys that anybody thinks of when they hear of Accrington Stanley, and that is, of course, legend and Hall of Famer Sean McConville. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Yeah, it's great to be on. It's great to be on, guys. I'm looking forward to what's in store and what questions you've got to ask me.
All tough questions, and no, going to put you on the hot seat, Sean. But no, we appreciate you taking time to talk to us about Stanley and your career, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the first things that we need to ask you about, and this is honestly probably the last thing that you want to talk about, so we just kind of want to get it out of the way here because it's something that everybody's going to want to know is, of course, you did have the Achilles injury that took an early end to your season. How is the rehabilitation going with that, and how are things coming along, and when can we expect to see out on the pitch again?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough at the time because we'd just gone through a really terrible patch in December. I got nominated myself for Player of the Month. Unfortunately, I didn't get it for December, but the manager got Manager of the Month, and we picked up some smashing results in that month. And then we played Rochdale on the 1st of January, and it was a nothing. I just jumped up. It was a bit of a nothing header. And as I've come down on my leg, I've thought that at first I thought someone had kicked me as hard as they could. So I turned around and I was having a go at their defender, saying, "What are you doing that for?" And I felt something pop straight away, and I was thinking, "Oh wow!" But I thought I'd been kicked anyway. So I get in the physio's room, and knew something was wrong, and he showed me the clip. The technology these days, they can almost just show you when you finish the game of how you've done your injury, and the player was nowhere near me, so I had to wait and apologise to him because he was 3 yards away from me, and I was having to go, and I'm thinking he'd kick me. But that's what tends to happen when people snap their Achilles. It's a bit of a shock when you do feel like someone's behind you. You feel like it's an impact injury when a lot of the time it's not. It's just the amount of strain I put on the Achilles during the years. It was just a week, and it's fully ruptured. But at the moment, the recovery, the operation went really well. A great surgeon, Mr. Chris Walker, done it. That was 5 days after I'd snapped it. So I was in a cast for 2 weeks, bedbound, not really able to move. And then I come off the cast and went into a protective boot for 6 to 8 weeks, which is just to get the healing process going. So that was 6 to 8 weeks, and I come out of that boot a week and a half ago. So and I went to see the surgeon again yesterday, and it's just basically about now just walking straight lines, doing little bits in the gym. I've been fortunate enough. I've got a good relationship with Wigan Athletics, so I've been doing a day or two a week in there with an ex-Accrington player. There's a few ex-Accrington players at Wigan in here. Andrew Proctor,
Paul Cook's there, right?
Paul Cook, ex-Accrington, yeah. So them lads have invited me, and they've got real good technology and good staff there. So I've also been at Finch Farm, which is Everton's training grounds, doing a little bit of recovery there. So I'm in the best hands, and hopefully, I'm targeting to be back by pre-season, which will be 6 or 7 months, which will be the shorter time scale. But in all honesty, it's just whenever I feel right. I don't want to rush it back and break down again, because if it does break down the same Achilles, it'll be really tough to come back from that. So it's basically coming back when I feel in my mind and my body that it's absolutely spot on. And as I say, I'm not gonna do it again or have a reoccurrence of the same injury. But I've been working hard and getting a sweat on. I can't wait. I've got to go back to the surgeon in 4 weeks. Hopefully, it gives me the all clear to maybe start jogging and doing a little bit of running. But as I say, it's all geared to getting back for next season.
So this and what you've gone through is obviously it's a tremendous amount of rehabilitation work, and we're talking about the physical aspect of your recovery. from your own mindset point of view, how are you coping, with the fact that you're not out there on the pitch able to help your team, especially when they're going through a bit of a rough spell? How is that on your mind?
For the first, I'd say 2 to 4 weeks, I was a nightmare. I was struggling to cope with the injury, being bedbound, not being able to move. I was a grump around my kids, around my missus, watching the team struggle. It wasn't great. But then you sort of get your head around the fact that, you are injured and, there's a lot of people in the world that are worse off than you. And I've sort of took that mentality on now. And as you say, it's tough to watch the lads struggling because, in years gone by, I've never really been one to be injury prone, so we've had a bit of a bad run. I felt like I could go on the pitch and influence the team in some sort of way, whether it was a goal, vocal, or something to influence the team. But unfortunately, at the minute with them struggling, I physically can't do anything about it, which is probably the hardest thing to watch, because we are in a bit of a bad run. I can't physically go and place myself on the pitch because I'm only on one leg. So it's about being vocal around the dressing room, getting in the dressing room, giving the experience, the advice to the young lads. We've got a lot of young players in the team. And that's what I've been trying to do. I've been at every game. I've been to most away games, even though it's a bit of a journey. I just want to stay around the lads and try and get the points on the board that we need, because we all want to be in League One next year, and I certainly do. When I'm fully recovered from the injury, I want to have a good go at League One. It was unfortunate because before I'd done the injury, we were 6 points off the playoffs, but we played Rochdale. And unfortunately, we've had a bit of a dip in form, and I'm not great watching football at the best of times when I'm not able to play, but when we're losing, it's even harder. But like I said, I've been trying my best to hand my experience to the younger lads, and hopefully, we've got a bit of a tough run coming up, but hopefully we can get, I think we need 2 or 3 wins to just to confirm safety in this league this year, and then we can take stock in the summer. I'm sure there'll be a big summer for the manager in terms of recruitment and players going and coming in, and we can have a fair crack at League One next year and hopefully do better than what we've done this year.
Yeah,
I think about 6 points, like you said. I think 6 points should be enough for safety. I mean, certainly you have Tranmere. They're making a little bit of a run now, so those points are going to be critical. And now one thing that you did, you mentioned that you've been traveling to a lot of the games, and I don't recall exactly which match it was, but I remember it was, I want to say about 4 weeks ago, that you went up in the I Follow booth with our buddy Ben Wild, and had spent some time up there in the booth. How did you enjoy that?
Yeah, that was down in Oxford. Unfortunately, we got beat, but yeah, I enjoy doing the commentary. I've done the I Follow with Ben, and I've done I do Radio Lancashire quite a bit with Dan Dewell.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's something that I enjoy doing. Co-commentating. It's something that maybe I could look into whenever I do finish playing. But it's more so going to these games. It's more so being around the lads the day before. We've got Portsmouth Saturday. I'll be travelling with the team tomorrow. Being on the bus the day before, keeping people smiling, keeping spirit high. Because when you're losing games of football, confidence does drop, and especially with the young side, players tend to go into the shell. So it's down to the more experienced players in me, Mark Hughes, Seamus Keneally, to get these, to not let these young players' heads drop, and like you've just said, make them realise, we do need 2 wins from what is 8 or 9 games left of the season, and the sooner we get them, the better, because we can all breathe a sigh of relief. Like you've just alluded to, fair play to Tranmere. They looked dead and buried a couple of weeks ago, and lo and behold, they've gone and sprung three away wins on the spin. Shrewsbury, they've beaten us, and then they've beaten Blackpool, and they go into the group of games now where they look to pick up more points. They've got a handy run over the next 4 or 5 games. I think they play Lincoln Saturday, Rochdale, AFC Wimbledon, so they've got a bit of a good run. And if you look at our fixtures on paper, it doesn't look great. I think we play Portsmouth, Doncaster. I know we've got Coventry and Fleetwood to come on the horizon, so we've got a real tough run. But at Accrington, we don't tend to do things the easy way. And we do like going to these big clubs.
Seems like you guys really step it up with the big clubs coming in. If there's like an Ipswich, for instance, you've beaten them, or Portsmouth, you played them. I remember the last game of the season last year, you guys had already secured staying up because of a big part of your hat trick was a big part of that. So you went into Portsmouth with nothing to play for. They needed it to try to get an automatic promotion spot. You went into their house. You came out of there with the draw last year and stopped them from getting the automatic promotion. So Portsmouth, who is that team that you play on Saturday, you guys seem to match up well. Of course, you beat them 4-1 earlier this year. What are you expecting to see on Saturday?
Yeah, like you just said, we played Portsmouth at home, and we were the better side on the day by a country mile. We played really well, probably one of our better performances of the season. Everything seemed to go in for us, and but they're a really strong side. They've got a good manager in Kenny Jackett. He knows the league very well, and I'd probably say Portsmouth will be one of them teams that either will be in the shake-up for the playoffs or they'll go over a massive club. But like you've just said, we've always done well when we went down there. We had a good result there last year when we didn't have anything to play for. I know they were in the playoffs at the time, and it's, as I say, it's a lovely stadium to go and represent the club at. If you're be full of 16,000, 17,000 fans, and it is a bit hostile, but Accrington seems to thrive in them occasions.
Really gets you fired up when you have that many fans in the building, I think. And I think this is probably where Tony was going to kind of go at this point, is where we've talked about a lot of stuff that's going on now, but you've had a long career, like you mentioned, about 8 total seasons with Accrington. And I know, Tony, you had some questions that you wanted to ask Sean about his early days when he was 19 and started at Accrington in 2008.
Yeah, I just want, before I go into that, Phil, I forgot at the beginning of the show to mention a belated happy birthday to Sean. I just had a birthday on the 6th, I believe, correct?
Yeah, thanks, guys, yeah.
Yeah, mine's just a few days earlier, but I've got a heck of a lot more years on the clock than you do. So, but anyway, belated happy birthday. Being a player that's got a long history with Accrington Stanley, and the reason I say that because in those early years, a lot of players were just on year-to-year contract as yourself, but there was a lot of time a rebuild, and funds weren't, the budgets weren't the best. You've gone from 2009, say, to 2019. There's been a big transformation in the club. What have you noticed as the big difference in the club now from when it was 10 years ago?
The biggest difference would be the owner, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, I think I was his last signing, the great Eric Worley. He signed me from non-league. I think it was £10,000 for me when I was 19 from just my local team, Skelmersdale United. I would play for them, and I worked part-time, and I hit a bit of a purple patch for them, and, Accrington come and scouted me, and, Eric paid money for me. God rest his soul. But at that time, the club scrimped and saved, and they got by day to day. They were reliant on the Football League money. They were reliant on gate receipts, different things, and sometimes cash flow was a problem. We'd go different months without being paid on time. A couple of weeks late here and there, and not through the chairman's fault. It was just the club wasn't at that stage where they had the investment or they could do anything about it, really. And players just got on with it. We in the early days, we had a siege mentality where I don't think you could get nowadays, with the current crop of footballers. It was different back then. We sort of grinded our teeth, we stuck together, and it was and we thought, if we're not getting paid, let's just stick together and let's go and get results. I think nowadays, you get players going on strike and threatening not to play. I've seen that at a couple of clubs, but the early years of Accrington, if we did that, I don't think we would have fulfilled any fixtures, because we certainly got paid, a couple of weeks later, most months. But like you said, we just got on with it. It was it is what it was, and it didn't affect us on the pitch because we still had a good team. But it hindered us because, like you alluded to, the club could only give year contracts. So if you're on a year contract and you come into Accrington and done well, you go to another club on more money. They just cherry pick you. Accrington wouldn't get a penny for you, and players would just leave every summer. With the new chairman Andy Alty's come in, he's backed the club. He's spent money on the new stands, the infrastructure of the club, the drainage on the pitch, and he's given players longer contracts, and he's reaped his benefits from it. Selling Caden Jackson for 1.75 million, selling Johnny Donatian for £750,000. These players, Matty Pearson's, I'm not sure how much he was. Shane McCartan's, them sales wouldn't have happened all them years ago because players wouldn't have been on them contracts. Accrington couldn't afford to give them contracts out. But with the chairman coming in, it was something that he got burnt within his first year. He had Josh Windass and Max.
Yeah.
And I think you all remember that saga. They were out of contract, and Rangers come in and took them two players who, at the time, if you think of what Caden and Johnny went for, if Josh and Crooksy were contracted, they would have went, for maybe more than that. But unfortunately, they were out of contract because Accrington was only giving shorter deals out then, and they went for next to nothing up to Rangers, and the club lost out on a whole heap of money. And I think the chairman from that summer said, right, from this point forward, we're going to give our better players longer contracts. If they do well, we'll sell them on for more money. And he was rewarded, as I said, because he sold a lot of players for big money, and he's got players on the books now who will go again for more money. A lot of young players.
Yeah, I mean, that really has allowed the team to solidify the roster, and guys like Callum Johnson and Jordan Clark and Ross Sykes have now been with the team a few years now, and now probably, unfortunately, we're going to see some of those guys leaving to go to the championship. From a Stanley perspective, obviously, fortunate we want to see them move on and have a great career, but I definitely think that Stanley is going to see in the offseason probably some of those guys move on, but also might be able to sell off some of those contracts to improve the team down the road.
Yeah, most definitely. You think about your Jordan Clark, who for me probably has been our standout player this season. Unfortunately he'll be out of contract in the summer. And I know the club had a bit of interest for him in January, and they would have last summer. But he'll go on to pastures new in the summer. But he'll give the club a lot of good service. He's been a top professional. He's never shirked any challenges, and you tend to get players who are coming out of contract. You get your agents telling them, don't be going in for tackles, or maybe throw an injury in because I've got you this lined up in the summer. I don't want you getting injured. But Jordan's not that type of lad. He comes in, he works hard every single day. He loves football, he loves training, and we'll go in the summer with, I'm sure, every Accrington Stanley fan's best wishes, even though the club won't receive much for them because of the service he's given the club. But then, as you say, you've got your Ross Sykes and Callum Johnsons, who I'm sure clubs higher up the pyramid will be looking at them because the young, hungry players who, fortunately for Accrington, are contracted, so they will command a fee. And if they do go, they'll go with the best wishes of everyone at the club. And I'm sure the manager will do what he's done over the years and find another Callum Johnson and another Jordan Clark, and we'll see other people coming through out the academy for next year.
So I think that goes in with what Andy Holt said, is that if you want our players, you're going to have to pay for them. Yeah,
that most definitely, and you've got to pay the going rate. Long gone are the days where, like I said, you had alluded to, when we didn't have much money, clubs would come in and, buying our better players for 50, 60 grand, and, the club would need to sell to pay the wages the next month. That's not the case anymore. I think Andy Holt's gone on record saying, the first offer that come in for Caden Jackson was, I think it was 200 grand or 300 grand, and he's held out for, above 1.75. I think he went for. So
that was record sale for Stanley there.
It just shows you that he's not going to take the first offer that comes. He'll value a player. He'll speak with the manager, the coaching staff. They'll sit down. They'll value a player at whatever he is, and he's not going to sell any player on the cheap, and that's fair play to him. He's not only that, he's an absolute tough fella. He comes a lot of the away trips with the lads. He's not
a self-made man. I mean, he's not one of these guys that inherited their fortune. I mean, he is a business wizard, and he has really taken that to another level with the football club. And to me, when you combine the business sense of Andy Holt with the football sense of John Coleman, I mean, you just can't go wrong. Now, that's a winning combination there.
Well, and just to add on to what you're saying, Phil, I think a key thing for Andy Holt, too, and for everybody in the community, he's a local fella.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, he is. And like I said, he comes into he's approachable. He's around the ground day to day. You can have a pint of lager with him on a match day if you're injured, and he'll come on the away trips with you, and you can play a game of cards with him. Where I know a lot of other clubs, chairman won't really associate much with players, and that's just the type of man he is. He gets involved, he's hands on, and he is a tough fella. And without him, the club wouldn't be where they are today. He's worked absolute miracles to get us where we are, and long may that continue, really.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to ask you, Sean, is, and we're just touched on about players leaving, and then obviously some recruitment and players coming in the summer. If a player, say an up-and-comer 21-year-old player, he's out of contract and he knows that the Accringtons has some interest in him, and if he was to phone you up and say, Sean, I've got some inquiries about coming to Stanley, what is a player with your experience? What would you tell him?
I'd say if a player wanted to sign for us.
Yeah, if he said, look, I've got some, I could have a chance to sign for Stanley. Why should I pick Accrington Stanley or go somewhere else?
100%. I'd say, from the minute you walk in the club, you won't want to walk out. It's one of them clubs that once it touches you, it's in your blood, and the manager makes it like that. People think of a job and work as tough, and whatever industry you work at, sometimes you might not want to get up out of bed because it's another day. But every single day you go into that place and you train, you enjoy it. You get out of bed, you want to go into training, you want to get round the management side, you want to get round the lads, and you make the environment so healthy, so happy. And I think that's why we do so well. Everyone loves coming into training, and if I was giving advice for any player to come in, I'd say just even if you're not going to sign, just come and sample it for a week. And like I said, once you do that, you're sort of bitten by the club, and it's hard to explain unless you're in the situation where you've been in there. And like I said, it's just one of them clubs that once it's got you, and it's certainly got me, and hopefully.
Well, it makes sense what you're saying, because even for everyday people in life, sometimes what's more important than the amount of money that you're making is being able to, like you said, have a place where you wake up and know you're going to be happy to go there. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much money you're making if you're not going to be happy where you're going to work at.
Exactly. It's like you say, it's being happy with life. You don't want to be going into a workplace where you're resenting it, and as soon as you go in, you want to get home. You want to go into a healthy environment where you want to stay there and do extra training, and then you're buzzing to go in, and you see people smiling around the place. Everyone's approachable, from the kit man to the girls in the office to the secretary. Literally anyone can speak to anyone. And it's like you say, it's just a great environment to be in. And on top of that, you've got three, the manager, the assistant, and the coach who want to improve you as a player and want to make you learn. And as I say, for a young player coming to Accrington, they're not going to learn the riches of what they could at other clubs, but we can give them a stepping stone to go and play 40 or 50 games and then get a move to a bigger club to go and earn the money that they think they deserve.
We see John Coleman and Jimmy Bell and John Doolan's. We just see them for 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon. Pre-match during the game, and John Coleman likes to sort of sit on the wall now, and Jimmy likes to do the vocal work. What are those guys like? Training and outside of game day.
Jimmy, the assistant manager, is really hands-on. Jimmy does a lot of the coaching. He's really hands-on with the team. He demands a lot off you in training and in games. The manager's a bit more laid back. He might not come across like he is, but he actually is. He takes stock of things. He'll come to training, but he'll only feel like he'll dip into training when he needs to implement something or he sees something that isn't right. And I think they sort of play good cop, bad cop a lot of the time, which is good. If Jimmy's coming across as the bad guy, the gaffer will come across as the good guy, and vice versa. If we're struggling at half time in the game, and I'm sure you've heard the gaffer lose his temper a few times. Maybe it's time for Jimmy to be a good guy, and they just work together really well. And on top of that, you've got John Doolan who come in, who's an absolute, he's a top coach. The sessions he puts on in training are first class. And the first year he come in, it was no surprise that we won the league that year. Because the year before, I think with the level we were playing at with the gaffer and Jimmy, they just found it too much. They were both taking on too much, so they needed another body in. And luckily enough, they got, like I say, a top coach in John Doolan to come in, who not only does he take a great session, we'll go through your clips from games. He'll sit down, you're on the laptop, and tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, how you can improve. And as I say, as the three of them, they all seem to click really well.
I just wanted to add on too. We talked about the players coming into the club. We have a fan from Accrington that listens to our podcast, a lady by the name of Elaine Talbot, and she wanted me to ask you, what do you think of when a player comes through into the club? How important is it that he buys into the badge on the front of the shirt?
It's massively important, and we've had players who don't buy into that, who come, and unfortunately we're not blessed with the best of training grounds. We train on AstroTurf. The changing rooms at the ground aren't really great, and players who don't buy into that and sort of turn their nose up at it, they don't last long, because lads will just tell them, listen, you either get on with it or go, don't be here.
Yeah.
And the manager will tell them that. So from the minute you walk in, you see other lads buying into it who've been there like myself, for a long time. If you're a new lad and you don't buy into it and you turn your nose up at, the facilities that we've got, then, like I said, you won't last long. But on the flip side of that, if you do buy into it, you think, what, I'm going to get my head down here, I'm going to work. Everyone seems nice. The manager, they seem good guys. And, the club, the fans seem great. I'm going to use this as a stepping stone to further my career. Then you'll do well.
Thank you, and thank you for the question, Elaine, and thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. And also, anybody who listens to these interviews, please send in questions. We love having listener questions, and thank you for answering that one there, Sean. And one thing is, we've talked a lot about Accrington and the culture of Accrington, and of course, in your 11-year career, you've spent, like you said, 8 of those at Accrington. However, from between 2011 and 2015, you did bounce around with about 4 different clubs. You spent a very short time with Rochdale, but you spent most of a season with Stockport. support. You played 40 games with Chester in 2014-15. But one of the teams that we actually have been following here recently on across the pitch was Barrow AFC. And I see that you played with them for 25 games, 14 starts back in 2012-13. Tell us a little bit about Barrow AFC and things there, because we have a growing fan base in Furnace. So tell us a little bit about Barrow.
Yeah, Barrow. I went to Barrow from actually I left Stockport and I hadn't done a pre-season. Unfortunately, I went to Stockport and the manager that signed me, it was Didi Hamann. They played for Liverpool, the ex-German international. But I got injured, and as I come back from injury, he got sacked. And they brought another manager in, Jim Gannon, and I didn't like him, he didn't like me, so we parted ways in, I think it was the October, but I hadn't done pre-season, and I'd signed, I think it was maybe in the September. So as a professional footballer, without a pre-season, you're playing catch-up with your fitness, and I just didn't really get going at Barrow. You know, I was unfit. We were training. I think we were training in Manchester. We were struggling at the bottom of the conference. We didn't have a great team. But you know, I've got nothing but good things to say about the club. It was a smashing little club. You know, I'm glad to see that they're doing well. They have a great fan base. You know, even when we were struggling in the conference, the fans still come out in the numbers. You know, it's great to see them doing well. You know, a couple of my ex-teammates, John Rooney, playing for them, doing really well. And so it's good.
Yeah, that's Wayne's brother too, for those who don't know.
Yeah, that's Wayne's brother. Yeah, I played with John. I played with him as a youngster at Everton, and then I played with him in that spell at Chester for them 40 games. You know, I played with John. Me and him played just in the centre midfield, and you know, we formed a good partnership there. And I know we've been scoring goals for them this year, and that's great to see. And it looks like they're destined for League Two, which is massive for Barrow, because, like I said, once they do start winning games, they've got a good little fan base there that come out and support the club. And you know, I'm sure it'll be some party up in Barrow if they achieve promotion this year.
Yeah, things are looking good for them. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we're pulling for them to make it into League Two for next season.
Yeah, we definitely need to mention John Earnshaw, who is, of course, an Accrington supporter, but he's originally from Barrow, and he is the one who has been covering Barrow for us on the website, and has actually gotten across the pitch sign up in the ground. So thank you, John, for all the hard work you've been doing for us over at Barrow. And like you said, Sean, it's great to see a little club like that, where you have so much big money in the sport these days, when you have a local club, and it doesn't matter who you support outside of the club that you support. I just like to see small clubs doing well, because I think that it is so important for some of those small towns, because the football club is part of the community. It's not just a sports team. It's literally a part of the whole community.
Yeah, and actually, they're similar to Accrington, you know, a community-based club. You know, I'm sure the Barrow players will be going out to the local schools and trying to get the next generation of fans and the kids through the gate. And you know, that's something that we do at Accrington. You know, we go and we don't go and do school visits and different things. And you know, over the years, I've certainly seen a swing in the age groups coming through the door at Accrington. You know, there's a lot of young families, a lot of young kids that come now, and it's only setting the bar for what can be a good future, because obviously they're the next generation of fans.
Yeah, I think what Andy Halt's doing, you know, the year 3 shirt giveaway, you're seeing that pay off, because you're seeing these young people, kids coming in with a mom or dad or grandparents, and bringing people to a new set of fans to Wham Stadium, aren't you?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like I said, that's probably one of the best days of the year for me. You know, beside the football, to go and give a football shirt to I've got two daughters myself, and I know how excited they'd be by going into to a stadium and getting a free football kit. And like I say, it brightens my. That's probably one of the best days of the year for me when Andy does that, and it just shows the generosity of the man. You've got other clubs with a lot more money and a lot more clout than us round the corner in Burnley and Blackburn, but you don't see them do it. And
no,
our chairman's put his hand in his pocket, and every season he gives every year 3 people in Accrington a free kit. And like you said, they'll go home to their parents with a big smile on their face saying, can we go to the game Saturday? And hopefully once you're bitten by that Accrington bug, which a lot of them are, like I said, I've certainly noticed the difference in kids coming through the turnstiles. It's great to see.
It's contagious. It really is. Yeah. The Accrington bug is the one that you want to catch, not that other one.
Not that other one. No.
Now, one thing that we forgot to ask Seamus about when he came on the show, so I wanted to make sure that I asked you. As you were this year, you became one of the first members of the Accrington Stanley Hall of Fame. So first and foremost, congratulations on that honor. And secondly, how does it feel to be elected while you're still an active player? I mean, that is an honor in itself to still be playing and already be in the Hall of Fame. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing achievement. It's funny enough, we have to walk past the Wall of Fame every morning to get our kits off the kit man. His laundry room's at the back of the Clayton end where the pictures of the Wall of Fame is. So I do see it every morning, and so proud to be up there. Like you said, to still be an active player, to still be injured at the minute, but still this season, hopefully next season, a few more seasons to come, creating more memories and putting more smiles on fans' faces by scoring winning goals or, doing stuff in the community. It's massive. It's great for my family to come to the games and see that I've been inducted into the Hall of Fame, in years to come. When my kids grow up, that's always going to be there. And it's, like I said, it's a bit of history, and I'm so proud of it.
Brilliant. It's brilliant, really. Yes.
It's well deserved because now this is your second stint with Accrington, and your first stint with Accrington was nothing to shake a stick at because in 2010-11 you had a 13-goal and 8-assist season. But then if we look at your second stint with Accrington, you have had some really huge seasons. In 2016-17 you had a career-high 17 assists. In 2017-18, which is of course the season that you guys won League 2, you had 12 goals and 11 assists. That's a goal involvement of 23. Last season, you had a career-high 15 goals, 7 more assists, goal involvement of 22. Of course, you had that big hat trick at the end of the year. Like you said, you've always been an Iron Man with the club before this year's big injury. You had played and started over 40 games each of the past 4 years. So, the numbers just speak for themselves. You are definitely a Hall of Famer in Accrington, but the season that I really like to kind of focus on with guys who were around back then is that 2017-18 championship run. Tell us a little bit about that 17-18 season as it unfolded through your eyes.
Yeah, it was some season. I think we started okay, and maybe it's a bit of a dip in November. But then, towards the end of the season, we were just turning out results week after week, 1-0s, 2-0s, and we just got on a run, and it just felt like we were unstoppable. And we had some great players in that side. You think of Billy Key, the amount of goals he scored. You think of the lone players that we had on the likes of Jimmy Dunn and. Players like that. We had Big Chappie in goal who got the Golden Glove. We had a smashing set of lads there, and I remember from pre-season, the manager sat us down, and it was the year before I think Portsmouth went up, and he said there's no reason why we can't do that. We actually aimed for promotion that year, and we were tipped for relegation. Like we are most seasons, we were the underdogs and the British favourites to go down. But I remember the first day of the season, the manager saying, "I want to get promoted this year from League Two," and the lads all bought into it, and we started believing that the more results we churned out, and like I say, it culminated in going to Luton on the I think it was 2 years ago, a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Going to get that result that every Accrington fan remembers, and I think that spurred us on to going to win the league. I think they were a point or two clear than us, and we went there, scored the last minute goal, and like I said, we didn't look back, and we got crowned champions, which was some achievement, for a group of players that were tipped for relegation, really.
So now one of the things that we also like to ask about is, of course, earlier this season, Billy Key retired from professional football, and he was obviously a huge part of that Accrington Championship season, and he was a guy that was probably on the other end of a lot of those assists that I was mentioning here a few minutes ago. What was it like having a chance to play with as the Billy Key, especially like the position played and beating him the assists?
Yeah, Billy was a top player. Not only was he was a top lad as well. He was my roommate for years, and I've got fond memories with Billy, on and off the field. Shared some great times with his family and different holidays that we've had. And, he was I went on record as saying he's probably the best player I've played with. His game just suited my game, and, we seemed to bounce off each other. I'd either assist me with a goal or I'd assist him. We just knew each other's game inside out, and it was sad to see him retire this year, but I'm sure it was a decision that he felt that he needed to make to sort his mental health aspect out, and he felt like that was the best decision for his family. But we had to remember that our club is an absolute legend, and certainly for me, the best player that I've played with.
That's what we hear over and over again with anyone who did play with Billy. It is, like you said, the best player that you've ever played with. I think Seamus said the exact same thing. Now speaking of kind of the leadership of the team. Obviously, you mentioned earlier that you and Seamus and Mark Hughes are kind of the leaders on the team right now, the veterans, and now, of course, Billy has retired. Scott Brown is another guy who had moved on at the beginning of the season that was a leader in the locker room. And then, so now with you and Mark both on the injured list, it kind of leaves Seamus out there as one of the only veterans. Who are some of the other guys that are maybe the younger veterans on the team that you see are going to step into the leadership role over the next couple of years and maybe have with you and Mark being out?
Yeah, there's a couple that are still young, but they've played a lot of games. You're thinking of your Callum Johnsons, your Ross Sykeses. In general, they're both quiet lads. They're not lads that will be vocal on or off the pitch, but it's something that they can possibly add to the games because they've played a number of games now, and probably the only thing that they're missing in the games at the minute is maybe a voice and. Starting to organise players on the pitch a lot like, myself, Mark and Seamus will do. Sam Finley, similar. He's a leadership type of guy. He can show his skills with the ball, but he's also vocal on the pitch. But like I said, the young crop of Callum and Ross, I'd say they need to just add that vocal side of the game. But they're two that I'd say could be future. I know Ross is captain the side this year once, but either of them are definitely future captains for the club.
We haven't had a chance to have Ross on the show yet, but we definitely would like to. But Callum is a guy that we've actually had on the show twice, and for his age, he just seems like a guy who is wise beyond his years, and he is a guy that really he just seems seems to live, sleep, eat, and breathe football. I can imagine you guys coming in and finding Callum fell asleep in the film room overnight. He just seems like that kind of guy to me.
He is, you know what? He's like, you've just summed him up there. He lives for football. You know, he's first in the gym. He's last out the gym. You know, he's always sitting next to John Doolan, looking at what he can improve, what he can't improve. He'll always be in the gym by his house of a night, you know, stretching. You know, if he's not plucking his eyebrows, he'll be in the gym. You know, I know he likes to pluck his eyebrows, Callum, and look good for the ladies.
I did hear that he spends the most time in front of the mirror in the changing room.
He definitely does. I think it's them Geordie lads. I think they're all the same. But he's like I say, he's dedicated, and you know, he's a top player, and that'll get him. I think that'll get him quite far in the game.
I think that overall, those just seem to be the kind of guys that John Coleman brings in. I mean, we had Joe Pritchard on last week, and he's another guy that just for a guy who's only 22 years old, really, just has his head on straight, seems to be very focused. And I think that the other thing is that John Coleman is a guy who, when he goes and recruits a player, he doesn't send some scout out. He calls that player up himself and says, okay, I've been watching you, and sits down and I guess meets him at Starbucks, is what I've been told. Do you think that approach that John Coleman takes of personally selecting his personnel is one of the keys to why Accrington has been so successful?
I think he must have upgraded now, because it was McDonald's when he met me. Is it now Starbucks?
Bigger budget now.
Yeah. You must be able to spend a tenner instead of a $5 now.
We've let the cat out of the bag now, Phil.
Yeah. No, like you say, he will. You know, the gaffer will do his own work on every player he signs. You know, because like I spoke about earlier, if he gets a feeling that they're not right for the club, or you know they're not going to be, you know, good eggs, as you say, then he won't sign them, because, you know, coming into our dressing room's massive, and like you say, if you're a bad egg, you won't last long. You know, the dressing room will sort of force it out and you won't last. So, you know, it's a big job for the manager to gauge a player's character whenever he speaks to them on the phone before he signs them, or, you know, when he speaks to them, like you said, in the Starbucks. But, you know, so far, you know, down the years, his recruitment has been spot on, and, you know, he's sold a lot of players for big money down the years.
Yeah, I mean, we've had so many Accrington players on the show that it's incredible that I could not tell you one guy that we have interviewed that hasn't just been a first-class individual. And that just speaks for Sean, that speaks for Andy, that speaks for the entire organization, that you know, you can just feel good about being an Accrington Stanley fan. Because from the very last guy on the bench, the ball boy, whoever, all the way up to Andy Holt himself, you just have quality.
Yeah. You know, like it is. You know, it's smashing. You know, I think the manager he's set in his ways, and like I say, if you don't buy into that, he'll fork it out the club, and you know down the years he's managed to, you know, I can count on, you know, can't count on one hand the players he's brought through. You know, I think back to my first spell, you know, the players that we had, and you like your Jimmy Ryans, your Andrew Proctors, your Luke Joyces, Sean Essy, you know, Terry Gornell. We had some top players then, and his recruitment's always been absolutely spot on. You know, you get the odd one or two that won't go as well as what you think, but in general, you know, he does smashing. But you know, it's hard work. You know, we'll be when we're sitting down to watch, you know, Premier League games on a Tuesday night, he'll be at Southport watching Everton under 23s against, you know, Arsenal. You know, he puts the hours in, and you know, it's tough, but you know, he's very good at it.
we're speaking of the good people of Accrington. There's one guy that we mention on every episode because he is the guy that makes everything happen. He's the man who arranged this interview. And of course, we're talking about the head of the supporters club, Peter Latham. I just can't put into words how much Peter does for the club. I mean, this is a guy who will be in the shop selling merchandise, ordering the merchandise, getting it in, handling the memberships, taking emails from me at midnight to set up interviews. I mean, Peter is just a man among men, if you will. Tell us a little bit about Peter and what he means to the club.
Well, Peter's a great fella. He's a man that I've got a lot of respect for. You know, over the years I've come to be really close to him. You know, he's one of the first people to text me when I'd done the injury, wishing me good luck. You know, letting me know if there's anything that he can do to help, he'll help. And you know, he's he's a big influence around the club. Everyone knows him, the squad. You know, everyone can go. He's an approachable guy. You know, he does an awful lot for the club in terms of the fan zones, in terms of liaising with Andy Alton, doing different things. And you know, you think of the golf days that he organises. You know, he's an absolute diamond of a fella, and you know, probably goes underappreciated by some, but certainly not me. And you know, he's just one of the members of the club that works absolute wonders. And you know, I know he's appreciated by a lot of people at the club.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I was going to mention too, and it was a good tie-in, Phil, is that he's got character, and that's what John Coleman and Jimmy Bell they look at when they bring players in. And any player that has been successful with the club is not only talented and they develop, but they got character and passion for the game and for the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Peter is a guy that every time I talk to him, he'll be watching some kind of football game. If football is on TV, he'll be watching it.
Yeah, and you know, he travels up and down the country to watch us. You know, he's been to probably seen some absolute shocking performances from the lads, but then he's been, you know, like I spoke about earlier, your Luton's away and your Blackpool's Boxing Day, where absolute, you know, he's been through thick and thin with the club. And you know, I don't know about me being in the Wall of Fame. If there was a fans Wall of Fame, I think he'd be up there in, you know, the number one, because he does an awful lot for the club. And you know, as I said, as a squad of players, and sure that the management team, and I know the chairman, everyone around the club really appreciates the work Peter does.
Yes, exactly.
Now, we're getting pretty close to an hour here, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but we really just had two other things I wanted to go over real quick, and then Tony had some very, very serious questions for you. So the two things that I wanted to go over with you real quick was one is my favorite moment of your career. I mentioned it a couple times earlier, but the hat trick that you had against Plymouth Argyle, where you also had an assist, because that was the game that mathematically secured you in League One. That's my favorite memory of your career so far, that for me personally. So tell me about that game, and then also tell me your favorite memory of your career so far, and then we'll go into Tony's serious questions.
Yeah, just the Plymouth game was it was one that we needed to win. You know, we were like you say, it was a pretty similar season to this one, where, you know, we're in a tough league, and it got to the stage where we needed to win. And you know, like I alluded to before, when you're fit and well, you feel like you can go and affect that on the pitch. And you know, that day, you know, it's everything that seems to hit or touch, it turned to gold. And it was one of them games where everything just goes right here, and it's definitely up in the top 5 moments for me. You know, other moments would be the Leyton Orient game. I think it was 2016 when I scored 2 and set up. I think scored 2 and set up 3, or scored 3 and set. I can't remember, but it was another one of them games where we won 5-1, and I think I scored from the halfway line, and it was one of them games where everything that seemed to hit did go in as well. with the moments, probably my best one would be Luton. Even though I scored, to the jubilation that day, and the way the squad felt and going for the league. I don't think that moment can be topped, not for individuality, but as a team, the changing room after the game, it was absolutely bouncing, and the journey home, I know the fans got into a bit of trouble with the Luton fans, but the journey home from that Luton game, everyone was on a high, there was beers on the bus, and it was unbelievable. My dad was there in the crowds, which was, extra special. That was a fantastic moment, and I think this season, Blackpool away, Gordon in the 92nd minute, whatever it was, quite a lot of derby. I know a lot of Accrington fans travelled over to that game, and to score the winner in that game and celebrate with the fans the way it did, that's another special moment. And to be honest, there's a lot more that I could mention, but it's not
you've got. I think you're one goal away from 70 league goals now. So you've definitely got quite a few memories. Not to mention all those assists. I think you're actually at 69 goals and 60 assists for your career. So you just need one of each to hit 70 at 70.
Yeah. Like I said, them memories are great, but I'm certainly not finished. I've only just turned 31. I feel like I've got, I'm quite a fit lad. Hopefully come back from this injury and hit the ground running in pre-season and create a lot of more memories. And hopefully, who's to say that we can't have another push for maybe a League One playoff push next year. But like I said, I'm willing. I can't wait to make some more memories with this fantastic club.
We can't wait either. Now, Tony, you had those serious questions, and we had a little bit of a new format for those, correct?
Well, we're just going to do it in a sort of a rapid round, a rapid question format. It's something that when we started interviewing players, Sean, people would just sort of ask a question of a player, sort of unrelated to football. So we've been asking these of all our guests. So we'll do this fairly quickly. Mushy peas or garden peas?
Oh, mushy peas.
Good man. Brown sauce or red sauce on your bacon butty?
It's got to be brown.
Right, well done. And your full English, with or without black pudding?
With.
Good luck. You got 100% on all those answers. Well done.
Tony, you need to throw in some kind of a Canadian question in there, like gravy or no gravy on your French fries.
Well, I don't know why a dish like in Canada is poutine, which would go well in Lancashire, because it's French fries, gravy, and with some cheese curd. So I don't see any reason why that wouldn't make it over in Lancashire.
Yeah, I've got one that you can ask the lads whenever the lads come on. And it's
okay.
AstroTurf or grass.
Oh well. Yeah, I would guess it. I would bet 100% or grass, right?
Oh, 1,000,000% you get grass off all the land.
Yeah. One more quick question, Sean. Are you, for being from Liverpool, are you red Liverpool or blue?
No, I'm a toffee. I'm a blue.
All right.
All right.
Massive Evertonian, I am. Yeah.
Oh, good man.
Doesn't go down well with the manager or the assistant, because they're massive Liverpoolians. So, I was beaming from pillar to post today in training with them getting knocked out the Champions League last night, and they were a bit grumpy. But I'm sure when Liverpool win the league, I'll be going in with my hood up and my hat on so no one can see my face.
Yeah, for sure. Well done.
Now, one other quick one I wanted to throw in is earlier in the interview you mentioned the card games that happened on the bus with Andy Holt and John Coleman, and I've heard about these card games, and I've also heard that some things like cards up sleeves and things like that tend to happen at those games. Is that true?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put nothing past the gaffer or Jimmy to have a couple of aces up the sleeve when they're playing the chairman. Because all you seem to hear at the back of the bus is the chairman swearing very loudly.
Excellent. Oh, very good.
Well, Sean, we have had such a good time talking to you here today, and we look forward to seeing you back on the pitch next preseason. And like you said, the most important thing is don't rush yourself back. Get yourself 100% healthy, and then once you're back on the pitch, we're looking to see you back at all those goals and assists for years to come.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, and I've enjoyed the podcast, lads. It's been really good, and just keep supporting the lads, and I'll come back on anytime you need me back on. Really.
Well, I want to wish you all the best in your rehabilitation, your recovery, and we look forward to seeing you back on the pitch next season for sure.
Thanks a lot, chaps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. You have a great day, and you're welcome back on anytime, and we'll definitely catch up with you here at the beginning of next season and see how everything's catching up with you on the pitch.
Yeah, hopefully things are going well then, lads. Yeah, I appreciate everything. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Cheers.
Have a great one. Cheers. On Stanley on.
Cheers on Stanley on. See you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers.